My name is Jordan Smith, and today I will be discussing some risk on Penn State's campus. Risk management is controlling financial and personal injury losses from sudden, unforeseen, unusual accidents and intentional torts. Risk management can be used as a tool, and this process consists of developing a plan, implementing the plan, and managing and measuring the plan. The risk I am going to be talking about today is the lack of bike paths that we have here on campus. I have been a biker and a pedestrian, and I feel like on Penn State's campus, both positions can be dangerous at times. Due to the lack of bike paths, pedestrians have a higher chance of getting hit by a bike, and bikers have a higher chance of getting hit by a car. On campus, there are sidewalks for pedestrians, and there are streets for cars, but there are limited places for people to be riding bikes and to maneuver around safely. Multiple times as a pedestrian, I have had a couple close calls by almost being run over by someone on a bike. When I was a biker, there were multiple times I was almost hit by a car on campus when crossing the street, or almost sideswiped when a car passed me on the road. Sometimes I think people blame each other. Bikers don't like people who walk, and walkers don't like people who bike. But sometimes that isn't the case, and I've been on both sides of the spectrum, and there's truly a lack of a transportation system for people on bikes here on campus. This risk would be identified as public liability caused by negligence, because no one would actually mean to hit someone on a bike or to hit someone walking, but definitely it could happen, and death could be an outcome if the injuries are too bad. When evaluating this risk, there are two types of elements to look at: frequency and severity. How often could something like this happen? It's not like this happens that often, or it's something common that we hear about from someone dying from a biking accident, but it does happen, and it's even happened here on Penn State's campus. Depending on the amount of injury and if the person hurt blames the other person involved, or would even think to blame the university for their lack of transportation and bike paths, the people causing the injury will be at fault. When treating this risk, I would come up with a plan to make it safer for people on bikes to move around campus. Everywhere there would need to be a designated sidewalk, and every road needs to have a lane for a bike or a bike path beside the road. When implementing this plan, everyone needs to be on board here at Penn State and understand how bad it could be sometimes for people to be on a bike and not have a place for them to ride. People on campus may have issues with abiding by the new bike path rules just because people are so used to how it is right now, not having bike paths and riding wherever they please. You might have to have someone to enforce the rules for the bike paths. And like I said, everybody from Penn State would have to be on board with that. And as you just take a little glimpse around campus, like you can see where I'm walking is a sidewalk, and there's a road which also has a little biking symbol there, but cars also drive on that road, and it's just kind of scary being a biker and almost getting sideswiped by a car every time you step out onto the road. This was my presentation of a risk I identified on campus. Due to being a pedestrian and a person who's rode a bicycle before, I think that there's not enough bike paths here on campus at Penn State University. If there were bike paths, I think that it would be a safer environment for all of us. People who walk, people on bikes, and people in cars.